bridge, and we're going to do it right, and we're going to keep people safe while we're doing it as a top priorities. So I'll turn it over now to Joanna, that I've designated to work with Director Alvidi to coordinate the response across government lines, whether it's in the state, or whether it's in the local communities, or what happens to be with our federal delegation. And we just had a call with them as well to kind of give them a heads up on what we'll be talking about today. So we know it's a significant disruption, and we're going to continue to work to address that. Joe?
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everybody. So as the Governor stated, my role here is to work with Director Alvidi and his staff at DOT, along with all our state agencies, and it's to establish a coordinated response to the closing of the bridge and the impact it's having on the commuters, the local traffic, the residents of our adjoining cities, our businesses in those cities, the emergency responders that have to use those routes, and of course our transportation to schools. So in addition to a forensic investigation being conducted by DOT, as we've told you before, the Governor has invited an independent review of all events leading up to the closure of the bridge. And we have engaged the engineering firm of McNary, Bergeron, and Johansson. Going forward, coordination and verification are essential to provide you with accurate information for us to keep the public informed on the ongoing efforts to mitigate the impact of this closure. We're going to continue to keep you updated when DOT's plans to address the bridge issue are confirmed. And you will hear more from the Director about a time frame to give you that confirmation. Today, Director Alvidi and the DOT staff will present you with a plan that traffic engineers can explore with guidance and approval of federal highway to expand the lanes of travel on both sides of the bridge. Provide details, I'll turn this over to Director Alvidi and staff to present to you how this plan will be made.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today to help us get the messaging out. We have been working, as Joe Ahmed said, we've been working at DOT continuously to try and improve the conditions, particularly around traffic and the delays that people have been experiencing. This has become our number one mission. It's moved to the top of our priorities at DOT. And as I've said over and over, we've implemented some modifications to traffic patterns that have moderately helped the situation, but we continue working on ways, and I pledged that we would continue working on ways to find additional improvements that we can make to help make everybody's lives better. To that end, our traffic engineers and other engineers outside of DOT have worked together with the Federal Highway Administration traffic engineers to introduce a new traffic pattern to help relieve the congestion and reduce the travel times on Washington Bridge. We're creating 3 lanes of traffic in each direction of the bridge. Vehicles will be crossing over in the westbound direction, will be crossing over to the eastbound lanes a little bit earlier than they are now, about 3,000 feet west from where they're crossing right now. But there'll be an additional lane, or a 50% increase in capacity in both directions, both eastbound and westbound. The 3 lanes will consist of 2 10-foot lanes, travel lanes for vehicles, light vehicles and passenger vehicles. And the right-hand lane will be a 11-foot lane with another 1-foot buffer that trucks will be restricted to the right lane travel only. We should be able to do this work and complete would work so that we can open these 6 lanes to traffic. We're looking preliminarily at an 8-week time frame to do the same. Now, let me condition that with the proviso that there are 3 things that could impact that time frame. There's supply chain on materials, concrete barriers and variable message signs, electronic signs that we'll be using to help implement this traffic change. So there may be supply chain issues that create some variance in that time frame. The weather, snow, rain, these are construction. This is going to require a bit of construction, so that could be, it could impact, weather could impact the time frame, and temperature, because much of what has to go on is a complete restriping of these travel lanes in both directions. The paint that we use is subject to being installed under certain temperature conditions. So these 3 factors could impact the time frame that we have now as an estimate. We've worked shoulder to shoulder with the Federal Highway Administration, traffic engineers, specialists that we talked about several weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, with the Federal Highway Administrator. They've worked jointly with our team at DOT and our private consulting company to not only create but also model and devise. And we have the FHWA approval to implement this traffic change as we have it designed. And as Joe said, this has been work that we've done in parallel with all of the other work that we have going on that's forward-looking in terms of the reconstruction efforts that will be needed in order to be implemented to put a new and improved bridge back in place on the westbound lanes. That work is progressing, and as we have with this and other issues, we'll be reporting out on that as the results of that and our decisions on that are made. And we have, at the same time, the forensic analysis that is being conducted at the same time. And likewise, we will roll out whatever news we have on that as we get more information on both of those other issues. So we see this as a very positive step forward. We're doing it as part of our own ongoing effort to make things better for the people who are realizing time delays and constraints on their travel. And we're trying to make that easier, and we have 100% of our attention focused on that. So with that,
we're going to open it to Lieutenant Governor to translate if you
Oh,
want. Yep.
yes, Lieutenant.
Good afternoon. It is important for us to share this message, especially talking about safety in the languages that our presidents speak. So I'm going to have the message in Spanish. Or Portuguese, but maybe Mayor de Silva can help us with that. Quiero empezar por expresarle a todos ustedes mi más sincera solidaridad con todos los que han sido afectados con esta situación del puente, el tráfico en el puente. Nuestras principales preocupaciones ha sido en mantener la seguridad de las personas y ayudar a los y a las empresas a seguir siendo, poder siendo su labor y su trabajo. Estamos introduciendo un patrón nuevo de tráfico que va a aliviar la congestión y reducir el tiempo de viaje en el puente de Washington Bridge. Crearemos 3 carriles de circulación, lado este y oeste del puente. Va a haber 3 carriles ahora en cada lado este y oeste. Esto aumentará la capacidad del puente por un 50%. Estos carriles serán más estrechos, así que tienen que tener cuidado, saber que van a ser más estrechos, pues que los camiones y los camiones de remolque y cualquier vehículo pesado va a estar restringido al carril de la derecha. Si usted maneja un camión, usted va a estar restringido al carril de la derecha. El lado este es estructuralmente lo suficientemente fuerte para poder soportar este cambio. Y tenemos una que sepa que, como acaba de decir el director, esto va a depender de los materiales que lleguen a tiempo, que no haya ninguna tardía en la llegada de los materiales, de la temperatura, ya que para poder pintar otra vez las líneas, la pintura requiere que haya un nivel de temperatura adecuada y asegurarnos que no tengamos ninguna situación tardía por el tiempo. Así que básicamente queremos que sepan que vamos a aumentar por un 50% la capacidad del tráfico en el puente y vamos a tener 3 carriles, 3 en el lado este y 3 en el lado oeste.
Thanks, Governor, and Colonel Weaver, thank you for being here as well, and your staff and the troopers that are out actively trying to manage this very difficult situation. So thank you to you and helping put this scenario together as well. So we'll take questions. If there are any questions of anyone up here, and if not, then we'll.
Why did it take so long to do the 3 lanes? Because, come on guys, you want to tell me that you don't have a contingency plan in place for years, that something can happen to that bridge? And for you, Governor, why are you taking ownership that something that happened on the Gina Raimundo administration? Because that bridge is broken for years. I mean, don't take the lie that it is given to you. That bridge was broken for years. We got the pictures to prove it.
So I think that, again, the analysis of what happened is in progress, and as has been mentioned by Joe, we have our own engineers working on the Department of Administration. We'll find out what the story is, and then we'll provide that to everyone. I can just tell you that my focus is exactly what I said. We're going to fix the bridge. We're going to do it right, and we're going to keep people safe. And then all the information that you're talking about, let that roll out as it is available to us. But speculating on anything right now is not where I'm going to be.
We'll go to Brian.
Director Almeida, do you have any projections for how much travel time it's going to save people to open this new lane?
So the actual travel time will depend on a number of factors. We know that adding 50% capacity to what is there right now is going to save a considerable amount of time. But depending upon the time of day and the traffic conditions, weather or accident conditions, that will vary, right? We do know that there will be an overall savings in both directions, and that's what this is aimed toward. Another factor that will play in, of course, over time is that there'll be a very apparent savings in time with the existing traffic counts that we have going over. But as the travel times get better, some people that are doing diversions currently through neighborhoods in the 2 mayors' communities is going to divert back onto the main highway. So that will add some variables to it also. But it'll also be an indication that we'll be solving a lot of the congestion issues in the neighborhoods that are surrounding the 195 hour.
We'll go to Patrick.
Are you essentially narrowing all of the existing lanes on the eastbound span? And if it's more complicated than that, can you explain and maybe walk us through what we're seeing here on this graph?
So what you're seeing is an actual computer simulation of the resultant traffic flows. As you can see, traffic is moving freely in both directions. And if you look at the on-ramps that are coming in from the expressway, from 114, and from Pawtucket Avenue on-ramps, and also the Broadway on-ramps, you'll see that not only is the traffic moving more freely on 195, but also from those ramps onto the highway. So this is going to relieve a lot of that. There will be 2 10-foot lanes and 1 11-foot lane with an extra foot on the side of it that is intended on the right-hand lane to be trucks will be restricted to that lane while all passenger vehicles on the other two. We will be, in our assessment, along with the FHWA traffic and safety folks, we've determined that we'll be implementing a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit through this area. We'll be working with the state police. We already are working with the state police to coordinate enforcement
And
action.
what's the width now?
The width now is 11 or 12 feet, depending upon which segment of that highway that you're on.
Kathy? Yeah.
Those are pretty narrow lane, 2 lanes right now, and they're sort of concrete caverns. So where are you finding the extra space to create an extra lane
Yep.
on each side? And another piece of that is there a breakdown lane, or is that completely removed for that space so that one accident, the whole plan goes?
No, so let me take those in reverse order. With regard to the accidents that may happen in breakdown space, we're also implementing both state police and tow trucks, rescue tow trucks, that will be deployed 24/7 at various locations along that to very quickly remove any vehicles that either are stopped from a mechanical breakdown or in accidents. They'll very quickly be moved off the highway into safe zones that we're creating to create an off-the-highway location to move those vehicles into and get them towed eventually from there, and for the state police to be able to conduct their questioning and anything else that goes on offline.
I'd like to follow
Sure.
just one question here. You said 100% of your intention, and I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to hear that, but when are you going to finish the Henderson Bridge? There's still
Oh,
no lighting,
I'm
there's
sorry.
orange barrels
Yeah.
all over the place, still.
Yeah.
It's
So when
And there's a bump in the middle of it.
Yes, so when I say 100%, I mean we have people that are dedicated to this, and we brought on additional resources from outside that are dedicated to the Washington Bridge issue 100% of their time. In addition to that, we have 700 people working at DOT, and they are afforded the task of keeping the almost 100 other projects that we have on time and on budget. I assure you that's happening, not only with the other projects, but also with the Henderson Bridge. The Henderson Bridge is on track to be finished on time and on budget, and we're keeping it that way.
And
Gabrielle.
just
Sure.
so I understand, on time, you're going to finish building the bridge,
When it was originally scheduled to be finished, that's correct.
which will be when?
We can get you those details. I don't have every project at the top of my mind right now, but we'll get you the timeframes.
Director, are there any concerns that narrowing the lanes will lead to more accidents? There already seems to have been an increase in crashes as we went to the 2 lanes after the bridge closure.
Yep, so safety is always a concern of ours in every change that we make, particularly in construction zones like this one. We have worked with Federal Highway Administration, traffic and safety folks, along with our folks, our traffic and safety experts, and outside consultants who are experts in traffic safety. Their opinion is that the 10-foot lanes with a reduced speed limit and the 11-foot lanes for trucks only in the right-hand lane will provide the necessary safety precautions. Of course, as with all projects, we will keep an eye on, once we have it implemented, if there are any additional changes or safety features we have to implement. It will have their message signing, it will have all the rest of the signage that will help make this a safe passage. But we'll also have our eyes on it real time when we implement it, and in the early days of the implementation, make the necessary fine adjustments to make sure that we have a safe passage.
How common are 10-foot lanes on highways?
In work zones, they have been used frequently throughout the United States. In this case, we needed to look at the existing pavement width and available pavement in both directions that's available to us on the highway, and absolutely, even to the inch, maximize our use of that to allow for this 50% increase. And the push and shove of that is to get a considerable amount of relief in congestion.
We'll go to Alyssa.
Traffic times are getting, they've already improved a little bit since the most recent, fiddling around with these lanes. But the perception remains that it's really hard to cross the bridge, let alone at rush hour, but at almost any time. What are you doing in the meantime to combat this perception? I mean, the additional lane is still 2 months out.
So I think the best results come from actual performance. What we're trying to do is create a pathway and create new solutions and implement solutions that actually provide an apparent improvement. And we're going to continue doing that through the whole project.
And as a follow-up, are you going to have to enact additional closures while you're working on this bridge? And have you thought about timing of that?
Introduce what, I'm sorry?
Like additional closures while you're working to expand the lanes? I would imagine that would...
Well, no, I think that as the governor said and as Joe Ahmed said, there are other parallel efforts that are going that will determine the scope and how we're going to conduct the new improvements to the existing bridge. And that will contain that.
Yeah, I mean, in the next 2 months.
Oh, during the time that we go to the 3 lanes? No, I don't expect that there'll be any additional closures.
Alyssa?
With this timeframe being up to 8 weeks, do you expect that plan to change at all, especially as you're continually investigating what's next for the bridge? 8 weeks is a long way out, and we don't really know exactly what's next.
No, I think this will provide relief that we need regardless of what path forward we take. And we're going to proceed with this to get the people that are suffering on a daily basis the relief that they need as soon as possible.
Alex?
So, trying to go back again, how do you expect to do this work of repaving or repainting the lanes without closing any lanes?
So the work that we're doing, much like the work that we did in the first week of this one, we created another 2 lanes in order to relieve the massive congestion that we had in the first couple of days of closure of the bridge. That work was done at nights, on weekends, and at times that afforded us the ability to do it quickly without impacting the travel time of people that commute.
We'll go to Pat and end with, oh, sorry.
You mentioned that there are new safe zones, whereas tow trucks, I thought tow trucks were already there. What's the difference?
We do, with the 3 lane in each direction, we'll be increasing our capabilities there to make sure that we have fast response. I think we saw an accident there yesterday or today that was cleared like in 12 minutes due to that fast response. We'll be ramping up those capabilities.
Director Alviti, what we appear to have here is sort of a tale of 2 cities, if you will. On one hand, it's clear from today's presentation that the state is marshaling literally every resource imaginable to fix the situation on the Washington Bridge. On the other hand, last night at the RIPTA service cuts in Pawtucket, we listened to multiple testimonies from folks in wheelchairs who, because of the service cuts and the lack of service in general, literally have to, in some cases, take their motorized wheelchairs up snow-ridden streets like Broad Street. Why won't the state adequately fund RIPTA?
So I think today is primarily focused on the improvements that we're making on the Washington Bridge project. And while RIPTA is a very important issue to me also.
Oh, I understand.
So we will be putting in place plans for that, but that will address as part of the work that we're doing at RIPTA.
But ultimately, the question remains, millions for commerce, millions for this, who knows how much for this, and yet there's an $8 million shortfall, and the state doesn't seem to have any appetite whatsoever to fix what could be a support system in times of crisis like this.
I think likewise, you'll see the administration's plans for RIPTA unfold as we get more information and we're able to analyze it.
Last question, Brian.
Director, do you have any more of this? We're now at late February, we're near late February, we're supposed to do reports back so that we have a decision. Do you have any more of a precise sense of when that's going to be? And also, how would you describe the likelihood that this is going to have to be a replacement, given that 8 weeks for a temporary solution takes us well beyond the initial estimate of 30 months.
Yep, so I'm not going to speculate on that. I'm going to wait for the results of those analyses to come in, and then we'll collectively, all of us here, sit down and assess those analyses and make the determination of how to move forward. And that'll happen, as I said, as we've all said all along, in the time that we have the data and the information to be able to make rational decisions.
And when is that going to be?
I think we set a time frame in late February, early March, and I think we're still working on that time frame.
We're in late February, we're getting there now.
Yes.
You must have some idea of how much longer this is going to take to get that.
Yeah, I do. As I said, I'll repeat myself. In late February, early March, we'll be getting that information, we'll be making those decisions. You folks will know the minute better.
Thank you, guys.
Mayor Smiley, that seems like, do you agree with the changes that they are making? It's going to benefit both for your city? Because they talk too much here. Both of you had to say what you feel about this.
I think this can only be a good change. Increasing the capacity on the eastbound bridge by 50% can only help. And I want Mayor DeSilva to speak for himself, but the continued burden that the governor and the director have been very sensitive to, that we continue to experience, in my city at least, in Wayland Square on the detour route, I hope will be partially relieved and alleviated by more people being able to stay on the highway because there is now 50% more capacity. So on behalf of the City of Providence, we're excited about this change. We're grateful to the DOT and FHWA for helping identify this potential solution, and now I know we're working as quickly as possible to implement it, and I think it can only help.
Director, is there no hard deadline for the reports? Because if you give me no deadline for the story, I'm going to keep tweaking it until I think it's absolutely perfect, and that could be weeks after, we actually want to put something out there that is good enough. So is there no hard deadline?
So, look, I think the governor said this over and over again. What we want to come up with is the best solution possible, the safest solution, and the best solution for all of Rhode Islanders. And you don't necessarily do that by rushing the people that are coming up with these solutions. They're all experts. They know the time constraints that we're under, that faster results are better, and they are working around the clock to accomplish that for us. I think we need to let them do their work, and so that we have the best information possible to be able to make our decisions upon it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We are
Do you
outside.
already have draft reports from?
No, we don't. We have ongoing work sessions that happen on a daily, weekly basis between our staff and all of those in coordination meetings that happen continuously. But on those other aspects, we get information in and it's being processed as we get it. Until the reports are final, nothing is solid, and we don't have anything to make the necessary decisions that we have to make. We'll make them when we have the final information.
Thank you, everyone.
Someone has anything to say about this? I mean, you heard from Mayor Miles, that's what I'd like to hear.
I've got to step over my microphone, and I'm not going to attempt to repeat everything, of course, because all I will say, I'm very pleased to see that the DOT, the governor's staff, and everyone working collectively are trying to find solutions. Our community has been one of the most impacted, I think, with the gridlock around the on-ramps, and I can only see this helping the situation. I appreciate that everyone's putting all their resources into this to try to find solutions, and I believe this will be a significant impact, positive impact. So I want to thank everybody on the team for making this decision to see if we can bring some more relief to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's it? I'll come find you.
Hey, Charles. Actually, we ended up asking the director. I figured I'd ask you, it's the Coventry Bridge.
Yeah.
Any updates on that?
Is CPA going to be in your job description?
Like, no houses. Never know.
That's pretty impressive. Thank you. Appreciate that.
But it's the DOT do the inspection of the permit issue.
Now you say Brittany.
Okay. As long as she's already.
It's also.
The other thing related to the bridge, but I think it's a good question. See you next time. Way, but I thought it was a good question, which is I ask awesome questions and I try to do it in a polite way. I try to do the opposite, but it's a why. What were the barriers?
Quick question. Do you do reenactments as well? I'm sorry.
I photograph a lot of reenactments.
Do you have to blow the spark the carbon or whatever it is? Hopefully you take a picture.
You're in the opposite direction over there. Dive. Have a good one.
You too.
Great, man. Well, let's see going on. Yeah. Stand and make sure. See you. I'll be flying. My question is kind of like too, it's kind of like it's kind of like it's just
It still feels like overall. You'll see even more preservation.
It does seem like I'm just sort of speculating a little bit here. I think the director would do that, but the fact that no, 3 weeks from today, under the solution being in place, that's just longer plan but that was dead.
Does that make you feel better? Oh, okay. Well,
I miss you guys.
yeah, of course. Well, I'll tell you next. Friday after, it's done.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat.
We're gonna go to Tavern Square.
Hey,
Friday.
Chris?
Yeah, Chris.
I would be.
You and Nicole are around,
This is the thing, I like having.
yeah, you still got like
still,
a
I still
window,
feel like
yeah.
I want to.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're definitely, obviously, one of them. That is annoying thing. I see that because I've been requesting different emails, so I see lots of your emails. So like one of the, like, dumps that I got was like,
Hey, you all good?
Yep, thanks, son.
Have a good one, guys. Take all set with that? Work? This is strong work.
Here, it's right here.
Yeah, right.
Yes, hit me. Okay, we are actually a little bit to the left, and we're actually live already, but no one can see it. We're here with Mayor Brett Smiley, again, in the capital city, La Prave, the Renaissance city, the only city in the Northeast that really needs anything at all, financially, intellectually, artistically. Challenging times, of course, right now with the Washington Bridge, a big press conference today, all hands on deck from the major state leaders. I had to bring up the question, the RIPTA, of course, is the lifeblood, the arterial system, if you will, of Providence, and has more impact there, well, literally than anywhere in the state. But it's equally important to mass transit riders around Rhode Island. Last night, we were at the City of Pawtucket's hearing, and quite frankly, it was heartbreaking. Number of folks who are in wheelchairs, who will use wheelchairs as their primary transportation, forced out literally onto city streets to make connections, often spending hours in the cold. Orwellian, if you can. Can't make this up. In your opinion, from the city of Providence's perspective, is the state doing enough, given all the money that seems to flow everywhere, to save RIPTA?
Well, I think we need to have a properly financed and funded, robust public transportation system. We're standing here in the State House, second week in February. The state budget is only recently been introduced and is going through the hearing process. So I don't think it's a catastrophe until we get to June. And over the process of this legislative session, they need to find the money to properly fund the transit system for the state. But those decisions haven't been made yet. The proposals are in, but the budget process is a process that takes 4 months, and we've got a lot of runway ahead of us here. It's clear that both riders and advocates and many legislators are all out advocating for full funding and proper funding. And you were at a meeting in Pawtucket last night. In Providence last night, we had a hearing on the city's comprehensive plan, and a good portion of that hearing was by residents talking about transit, which wasn't actually specifically on the agenda, but it's clear that this is an area of particular and acute concern, and I'm hopeful that through the process of the legislative hearings on the budget here at the State House, that those concerns will be met and that funding will be identified and that the system will receive the funds it needs to receive before the new budget year starts, which isn't until July 1.
So you expect the Providence, if you will, legislative delegation to be out front and center, making voices heard for people that we spoke to last night?
Yeah, I mean, the Providence delegation of senators and reps, I think in unanimity, and certainly some of the staunchest and most vocal supporters of proper RIPTA funding are Providence reps and senators, and they're going to be up here advocating.
Great. And in closing thought, one of the great parts of Providence and why it's one of America's great small cities is its walkability, but in cases where it's not quite walkable, having a robust mass transit system that folks from literally across the economic spectrum can take advantage of literally daily. And that's quite frankly, contributed to the success of the city and why we're a city of neighborhoods, because, well, you can visit different neighborhoods easily in the city.
It's absolutely true, but, my job is to advocate for Providence, and I do that, proudly every day, but the reality is that even under the proposed cuts, there's more transit options in Providence than in many places. I think some of the people who get hurt the most in some of these changes are actually some rural riders and riders in communities that don't have quite the number of options that we have here in the capital city. And so I'm going to keep advocating for proper funding, and I care about transit, but honestly, some of the people potentially most harmed are people who live far out from the city center that don't have quite the number of options that we have here in Providence, even under the proposed changes.
Mayor Smiley, as always, thank you for your time. Have a great day, and go Providence.
Thanks, Pat.
Take care.